Welcome back. In today's session, we are going to create the magnifying glass for our big bug collage. In previous sessions, we created our big bug collage. We talked about insects having 6 legs, 3 on each side. We talked about the head, the thorax, the abdomen. We talked about color contrast and varieties of different shapes. We also talked about symmetry, making sure that our insect would be the same on both sides. Today, we are also going to focus on the idea of symmetry, or something being the same on both sides. Our magnifying glass is also symmetrical. There's a fold right down the center here so that the rounded piece is the same and the handle piece are the same on both sides. Okay, so today you're going to need a few pieces of paper to get started. Of course, you will need your final insect that you've finished. This can stay in your folder until the end and we start gluing everything together. You're going to need one black sheet of paper that is 12 inches by 18 inches long, and you'll need another brown piece of paper that is also 12 inches by 18 inches long. Then you're going to need another colored sheet of paper for the handle. It can be any color you'd like, and it is 6 inches by 4.5 inches long. Now teachers, I've made ahead of time templates for my students to trace. This one and a handle one. So the way that I've done that is I've simply taken the circle that we used and made it a little bit larger than the circle on the outside and just a little bit smaller than the circle on the inside, so that the insect will fit inside of that, so that by the end our insect is going to look, something like this. All right, now to get started, you're going to take your black sheet of paper and you're going to write your name on the back. I'm going to write Mr. Lundgren because that's my name. Then you're going to write your teacher's name, your homeroom teacher's name. And then you're going to write your grade section. Maybe this is grade 2B. All right, and it should look something like that on the back of your paper. Now I'm going to set this black sheet aside, maybe in your folder for next time if we don't get finished, but we'll need that later to glue down on. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your black 12 by 18 sheet of paper and fold it in half, the hot dog way, so that it is one long rectangle with a fold here in the middle. Okay, once you get this folded piece in the middle, you're going to take your template and you're going to line it up so that the fold of your template is right along the fold of your brown sheet of paper. Now, my template in class will have these little X's on it, so we'll know which one is a template. And then you're just going to take a pencil and trace it. I'm going to use a permanent marker here so that you can see my outline tracing. When you trace this, you might want to buddy up with a partner at your table. One person can hold down the magnifying glass template, and the other person can do the permanent marker outlining or the pencil outlining, so that you have your handle lined up perfectly. Now this is what it should look like when you're done. You should have this semicircle here, and you should see the other semicircle on the outside. Okay, then when you're done tracing your template, you can have somebody bring those to me, or I will walk around the room and collect them. Then cut your template out. Make sure that you save the fold, just like we did on all of our other symmetrical pieces where we saved the fold and we didn't cut those away. Do the same thing on your magnifying glass template so that it looks like this. Then you're going to cut this away. If we can save this brown extra sheet of paper, that'd be great. We can reuse it for another lesson. If not, let's make sure we put it into the recycling bin so that we can recycle that paper. Okay, when I cut that piece out and I fold this open, it should look something like that. See how it's symmetrical on both sides. Then I'm going to cut this semicircular piece out, and it should then fit my insect perfectly on the inside. Take these two sheets, set them aside or into the recycling bin, and you should be able to see your insect through your circle And you might have to overlap some of the wings or some of the eyes depending on how closely you pushed your insect out to the sides of your composition. But that's, the final look of what it should look like. Then take your 6 by 4.5 sheet of paper, fold that one in half as well, and take your template and line it up here like this so that you can trace around it. Another way to do this if you don't have that template is to simply take your magnifying glass, take the handle and lay it down here, and then trace the handle part so it's as wide as the handle, and then remove it and just draw straight vertical lines down like that, and that will be your handle template, because sometimes the handles get a little off and a little bit too wide or too thin, so you can make it like that so it will fit your magnifying glass exactly. Then cut it out and try to cut on the outside of the line so it's just a little bit larger than what you drew, and then that will kind of look like it's a piece of cloth or something wrapped around the handle, and then you would glue this part down so you wouldn't see the marker, or if it's pencil you can just erase it. Okay, so once you've got those two symmetrical pieces cut out, take your black sheet of paper again and set it down in front of you, and then take your glue bottle and make sure you've cleaned it off and there's not a bunch of glue smears on top of it and it's ready to go. And then you take your big bug and set it down on your paper, and take your magnifying glass and set it down on your paper. Now, my big bug, I want it to kind of be standing upright, kind of vertically on my paper. If you want it to be some other way, you can work it out so it's however you want it. I would suggest putting some dots around the edge like this, okay, and then maybe one dot in the middle. If you want to, you can kind of smooth some of it out so that the paper doesn't buckle, but you really don't need a lot of glue. Then try to place it, in the center of the paper enough so that when you put down your magnifying glass, you can have your magnifying glass all on the same sheet. Okay, you don't want your magnifying glass to be like hanging off the edge like this. So make sure that you arrange it so it's nicely right in the center, and your magnifying glass handle should fit on this diagonal pretty nicely. Okay, once you've got that done, hold it down so that you make sure it stays glued. Alright, and then take your magnifying glass and put your glue around the edge. Now this one I'm going to glue all the way down. My example, I didn't glue half of it down just so that we could see, so I could lift it up and show you different parts of the demonstration. But this one, we're going to make sure that we glue it down really well. We don't want it falling off or flopping around while it's hanging in the hallway or hanging up at home. So make sure you glue this down. This will not only keep the paper glued down, but it also help your insect to be glued down as well. So try to lay it over the top. And as you arrange it and hold it down on your paper, make sure that you've got it so that you don't see any black of the background. You don't want to see that, okay? And maybe even try to make it look like here I've got it overlapping a little bit of the bug, almost like I can't see the whole thing, which is fine. Okay, now that you've got that brown piece glued down, make sure it's glued down all the way. Then take your handle and put the glue on the back. Spread it out so it doesn't buckle the paper. Now that the pieces are getting a little bit smaller, you don't want them to buckle. Okay, and put the handle piece on and hold it down so that it's on the handle nicely. Okay, so there's our handle on our magnifying glass. Now that that's done, the last little step here would be at some point to take a marker and put a little decorative design on the handle if you'd like. Okay, so just take this and I'm just going to put kind of simple lines perpendicular to my line of symmetry. And I'm using a fine point Sharpie, not an ultra fine point, but a fine point Sharpie. And just kind of carefully putting some lines on there for decoration. Okay, and that is how you finish your big bug collage, by making the template for the magnifying glass so that it is symmetrical and finishing the handle so it's symmetrical. Thank you for joining me for creating a big bug collage.